Hello, hello, lovely people. Welcome to another Devrel show. I want to start the show by apologizing because the last show I said see you in 2 weeks and I forgot I had a conference, so I didn't have a show scheduled 2 weeks ago. But now we are back for the Devrel show. Also, just thinking out loud, I really need to, take the time to find where I found the sound that I'm using in the intro countdown because I just love it. It energizes me when I start the show. Like I already have a lot of energy if you know me, but still, like I always love that sound, and I just need to put credits out there. Like there was a creative comment like music you can use it for commercial, so like an artist somewhere created it and said like use it for free, so I need to have a way to just like I don't know, put the not the copyright but like the attribution to the artist because I love the song. Like I don't know. It's bit. I think it's episode 40, and I think I talk about that song for at least 30 episodes out of 40 because I liked it so much. So anyway, thanks everyone for joining us. And guess what? Thanks, Anush. Good to be here again, man. You are there every show, and I cannot like this anymore. No, actually, I cannot like this more. Sorry, wrong saying in English, but like what I want to say, I'm just happy to have people that come to your show. It seems like it brings some kind of value and it's fun. So it's fun for me. Hopefully, it's fun for the people listening. On that note, I'm gonna shut up for now and I'm gonna introduce my guest, Eric. How are you?
Hello, thanks so much for having me, Fred. I'm doing well, and I'm happy to be here on the Devrel show. I mean, this is I was talking beforehand, like this has been in the making for at least 9 months or so. So happy to finally be here.
Yeah, so we were talking about the show, and yeah, I have a good problem with the show is that it's popular with people that wants to be on the show. So what I was doing at the beginning, because I'm the kind of person who can schedule thing in my calendar like a year in advance. If it's in my calendar, it's there. I may have other things that have different priorities, so I may have to move things around. But usually, when it's there, it's there. So I took the same approach with the Devrel show, and I was planning like a year in advance. That is not working for most people, and actually it's not even working for me anymore because when I started the Devrel show, I was at the previous company and we're a smaller startup, so I was not traveling that much at conferences, so my schedule was pretty stable. And now like there is like travel that got booked like sometimes in advance, sometimes a little bit last minute, so it's a little bit harder for me. So first that was a pain in the ass for the guests because I was like, yeah, how are you free in 9 months? And like like quite often like 2 3 weeks before when I contact them to just confirm everything is fine, most of them are like, hey Fred, something happened. I'm like, good, it's fine, but I need to reschedule someone. And I was like, that's just too much work. So I'm finishing with the people that I schedule for the rest of the year. But after that, I'm going to just schedule like one or two show in advance. That's going to be easier.
I,
And anyway, I have like a wait list for more than a year and a half right now, which is me just bragging and like, oh yeah, good job.
well,
but
I'm honored to be off the top of that stack and here with you. And I kept this calendar slot booked the entire 9 months, so I made sure to make time.
And I'm saying that, and you're being amazing because you're not, what you're not saying is that the show was supposed to be in 2 days, like on Thursday. What I usually try to do the show like every other Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and started a new job, and they were like, "Hey, Fred, there's that conference. Can you go?" And I'm like, "Yes, but I need to check with my guests." So we scheduled this like 9 months ago, but 2 months ago I was like, "Hey, Eric." So, the thing I put in your calendar like 6 months ago, can we move it 2 days before? And Rick was like, yeah, I'm good. So thanks for doing that.
Of
But
course.
yeah, so just sharing my knowledge and past pain. If you schedule webinars and stuff like that, don't do them too in advance. It's just more painful. Like it seems like it's nice, but it's just more painful than anything. So
Yeah.
yeah, sharing some knowledge here.
If your schedule goes out further than a pregnancy, that could be too long, I think is a good way to think about it.
I love that so much. So, with that said, me babbling about organizing a live stream that is a little bit successful. Who are you? Tell us who you are.
Yeah, sure. Happy to meet you finally live stream as well as anybody else who's watching. I'm Eric Koleda. I'm a developer advocate. My title is lead developer relations, which I'm not sure it's the right order of those words, but either way, that's my current title. But I'm basically a developer advocate at Grammarly. Actually, when we started, I was at Coda, but Coda got acquired by Grammarly around January. So I had to change my bio with you before this went out. But yeah, so I work at Grammarly now, which has acquired Coda, which is a kind of a Notion competitor, a workspace doc tool, as well as we just recently acquired Superhuman, the like mail
Oh
client
yeah.
that people use. So anyway, all of those brands now sit under Grammarly, and yeah, that's where I've been working for 4 years at this combined company. So about 3 and change when it was called Coda, and now about 9 months of Grammarly, and it's been going good. Before that, I did spend 12 years at Google. So the most of my career was doing developer relations at Google. I spent most of my time on the Google Workspace team, which was
Mhm.
called like Google Apps back then, but Gmail, Calendar, and Drive, doing developer relations for those tools and their related APIs. And then I also dabbled a little bit with the ads team at Google, doing developer relations for Google Ads. And then right at the end of my career there, I spent some time on our documentation platform. Google had like a homegrown developer docs platform, and so I spent some time working on that team to kind of help build out that infrastructure. So I've touched a bunch of different roles in Devrel, most of them at Google, and then a couple outside.
No, that's pretty good. Actually, like a couple of things about what you said. So we're going to talk about your experience, but that's another thing about planning, like shows too much in advance. Like between when we decided to plan and now, like Eric quote unquote change company, like they got acquired, so he has the same job, but like the company was different. And sometimes I had guests that was like, hey, now I'm looking for a job, but like that was not maybe the best time for them to be on the show. So again, another thing about that. The other thing is that I'm impressed with the 12 years at Google. Like obviously you changed role, like you mentioned, but you still were 12 years at the same company, which is like a kind of goal of mine. And maybe it's just me, but I feel like it's something that we don't see as often when it comes to developer relation. Like other roles, software engineers, like they tend to stay longer in a role, but developer relation for so many reasons. I could speak for an hour about that because I've lived them, most of them. It's a little more rare, so it's nice that we're able to like stay that long
Yeah.
at a company.
It was certainly helped by the fact of Google's size, which is that like there were, I think, like 200 people working in developer relations inside of Google, maybe even more. So like we had developer relations conferences that were internal. I actually never went to
Oh,
a
I didn't know
DevRel
that.
Con conference like the one for the public until after I left, because kind of all my needs were satisfied internally. So yeah, having such a large organization meant that there's just room to flex, because I think what you're hinting at is that often priorities for developer
Yep.
relations and the company that's they're working for, they just shift, and that's like kind of natural. And so you don't see the same amount of, the burner keeps getting turned up and down on some of these projects and some of these initiatives versus like, yeah, at a larger org, at least there was other lanes to swim in as that happened.
Yeah, no, good point. I didn't thought about that. I was focusing on like the number of years, but like obviously there's part of you like doing a great job and they wanted to keep you, but at the same time, as you said, there's part of like the org was set up that like developer relation was and probably still important at Google. So it was
Yeah,
like, yeah, because most of the time, what I've seen and I experienced is like, as you said, like the priority chain, like, oh, you know what, DevRel is not important anymore. Or when you're in startup, I've seen that the startup is struggling and we're like, I'm the first one to being let go in my team, which actually it's annoying, but I understand. I mean, I'm not the one building the product, I'm
yeah,
not the salesperson. Also, if I do my job well, I'm going to help the salesperson, but like it's not my job to sell the software. So I understand like in the order of like who we need to survive, I
right.
may not be like on the top priority, but it's still annoying because it means that like I don't have a job anymore. Or sometimes like just people that even if you do interviews and discuss with them and you try to explain developer relation, they do not understand developer relation. Or maybe I'm also picky that they don't have the same vision as me. So we
Right.
try to like define how we can measure, but they still want like traditional way of measuring stuff versus like Devrel is a little bit different, stuff like that. So it ends up that like, yeah, you cannot stay that long at some companies. But right now, I'm in a medium-sized company. They seems to understand. So far, so good. It's been about 3 months now, and they seems to understand developer relation. On top of that, they seems to be able to deal with me and my
There
personality,
you go.
which is like the the top of like the, what do you call that, like the cherry on the top of the sundae, uh,
Yeah.
for me. But yeah, no, great for you. And right now, you're at Grammarly, which I've known for, the English checking, like within, like I was using the at
Mhm.
the time, it's been a couple of years, but I was using the checker within my browser, but I didn't know that Grammarly was like expanding and acquiring.
Yeah.
So
That,
can you tell us a little more? I know it's recent, but like, can you tell
yeah.
us a little more just the story around that? I'm
Yeah, it's kind
curious.
of a new chapter for Grammarly for sure. So when Grammarly acquired Coda, the company I was at previously, they also made the CEO of Coda the CEO of the whole thing. So it's kind of like
Oh.
the smaller company CEO, the acquired company, became the CEO of the whole thing. So it was kind of like a big shift for the company where they're pivoting whole direction. And I think it was, you could almost see it as like an acqui-hire of the CEO, but it was more than that. But certainly, Shashir, who he would actually he was the founder of Coda, and he was also the head of YouTube during YouTube's like high growth years. And so he has a pretty good track record and good product vision. And essentially, yeah, I think what I can think about is Grammarly of the past was this grammar checking tool. It was like a single purpose application that just did this one thing, and it did it really well. I think you could say kind of like defined or owned the market for kind of like this cross-platform grammar checking, and typically had pretty high quality. But I think the realization is that like the world is changing, and people aren't probably in the future going to be writing and correcting with AI so much as they're going to be writing with AI and then maybe correcting or tweaking the output, right? And so kind of like where does Grammarly fit in a world where no
Yeah.
one even writes with things anymore? And so I think what we did see is there's a ton of interesting of like value and possibility with the company. And I think one framing, and this is the one that we're plowing ahead with, is that you could think of a Grammarly as almost like our CEO calls it the OG agent, right? It was like an AI agent before AI agents were a thing. It was like using AI, it was following you around, it was being a little companion, kind of giving you advice. And we kind of realized that like we had this kind of top to bottom stack that could deliver AI agents right to where you were working across any application, but we only had exactly one agent, and it was only focused on grammar. So we're in the
Mhm.
process right now of opening up that to be a platform. That's why I'm doing developer relations on it. Is that we're going to bring in more developers to build whole sets of agents that focus on all different kind of things, not just grammar, but that can leverage that same pipeline to be able to kind of like have you get agentic help wherever you're working of all different varieties.
Awesome. That sounds great. Unrelated to that, but I didn't put too much attention on your background before, but there are some things that tell us your age a little bit, I think, in the background. So it's a pretty cool collection, though.
Yeah, these go back to when my dad picked some of these up. He used to work at a university, and they would like throw away like some old tech, and so he was saving some of these from the trash pile. But yeah, this is like an IBM portable PC, one of those like it's like a laptop, but it definitely doesn't fit in your lap. Someone the other day called it a lug top, I think. You can lug it around.
I never
Uh,
heard that. I like
and a
that.
Commodore, and then an old word processor, like pre-operating system kind of computer. So yeah, I got a little. I thought about powering them on as the background today, but I didn't get around to that. So I'm sorry.
No, no, that's fine. And this is one of the things I like, since a couple of years, there's that trend now with like those kind of like virtual backgrounds. So people, even not having a green screen, you can have a virtual background. And I understand some people, like if you want some privacy, I think it's useful. I don't think they're still good enough if you don't have a green screen. You always see like that annoy me so much. You see
Yeah,
that like
right,
fuzzy thing
right in
around.
here. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So that like I don't like them, so I don't use them. But at the same time, even if my background is shit, like that's not a background from it's not that bad, but like it's not a background of like, like professional YouTubers that have like a lot of things
yeah,
like they curated their background for the show, which I should probably do because I do a lot of live streaming webinars. So you should invest a little more in that.
yeah,
But at the same time, it's me, it's my personality. Like you can see part of a cat behind, you can see maybe it's too small, but like the book I wrote a couple of years ago, you can see like the rest of my room and stuff like that. You see my house, and I do not care to show those things. And it's not the perfect background, but there is a
right.
story. This is me. As the same thing with you, like you have those computers, there is a story with it.
Yeah,
It's not just for the appearance. So I love that I encourage people to do that instead of using virtual background. Like
Right.
anybody can do whatever they want, but I encourage that because I like if
Yeah.
you're okay for people viewing part of your life, I think it adds to
Right.
you know.
Yeah, in my old office, I had a terrible background. It like faced my wife's desk. It was not appropriate for getting on a show like this. So we set up this new office this year, and I was like, okay, I want to do something. I can't be full YouTuber. I'm not gonna, I can't, I don't live in a clean environment. If you can see the other side of the camera, it's just complete mess everywhere. But like these bins hold like the stuff in our household, like where it's where the extra paper and scissors are for the kids. Like it's all real. There's nothing staged here. I just wanted my realness to look a little nicer on camera.
I like that. I like that. And so you work at Coda now. It's primarily because of the acquisition. Like I do not know the size of those company, but I can say with confidence that they're not Google's size in terms of
For
like
sure.
number of employee and whatever. So how was the, if you want to share, how was the transition between, because I've lived it, but how was the transition of like going from like a Fortune 500 like big company was with a lot of resources with a
Yeah.
team of like 200 developer relation to, I don't know, I assume at Coda, if you were four developer because that was a good team for the size of the company, you
Yeah.
maybe were alone. So like how was the transition for you?
Yeah, it was definitely a big transition. So Coda, when I joined, was around 200 people, and
Oh,
I
okay.
was the first and only developer advocate. And I even at Grammarly, I am still the only developer advocate. So I'm a team of one and have been for 4 years. For me, it was actually what I was looking for. So after 12 years at Google, I had kind of got burnt out on big company culture. There's a lot to love about it, and I think it was really helpful during some of my formative career years. But what I didn't love was all the levels of indirection. Everything was a ticket or a review or a committee or a meeting, and you couldn't just do anything. And it wasn't just that there were rules that said you couldn't do something. It was also that you were representing this very big, very
Yeah.
complex, very public company. And so I felt a lot of weight that, could I just say something on a forum that I wanted to say, or would that turn and blow back at Google in some way? And it was a lot of pressure for me to have on my shoulders, not to mention then all of the other like, you know, rules that were put in place to help mitigate all of that. And so for me, it would feel so freeing to go to a small company where the amount of people that needed to sign off on something was just me often, and I could just do something. Even in the early days, I'd like present to my leadership, "This is what I want to do," and they're like, "Look, we hired you because you know what to do, so just do the thing." I'm like, "Oh, great!" Like I don't need to have all these reviews and
I hear you.
people signing off on things. So for me, it's been great. I've really enjoyed having this time to be kind of a little more flying free.
No, I hear you. I was asking, because I've been through there. Like my first job as a developer advocate, I was working at Microsoft, so there
Ah,
was the exact same thing.
yep,
And I don't know how they're doing right now, especially after the last layoff. But at the time, developer relation was still something really popular. Like we had team, like in different countries, in most of the countries actually, which means like we had like a big Devrel team, and yeah, that was like there's a lot of benefits working in a big company, but there's pros and cons about everything. So after that, I was like, I went to something a little bit smaller at Mozilla, and after that, I was like, you know what, I want to do the real startup, and I love the freedom of a startup, but I was lacking the resources of like just being able to do some of the stuff. So now I'm kind of like in between where like, yeah, now I have resources, but I still have a lot of leeway to be able to be successful. But
yeah,
it also means that there's a lot more people involved to do stuff. Like when I want to publish some things, I need to involve the person responsible for content, the person responsible for SEO, the person responsible for social media, the person responsible for like the type of content that I do. And there is a lot of like people involved. So it's not like when in previous company I was in a startup and I just was like, hey, I want to do that. And I was doing it from A to Z. But there is like, yeah, pro and cons. So I was just curious to understand a little
yeah.
more from your point of view how you live that, because it may or may not have been a choice. In your case it was a choice,
Yeah,
but
there certainly is pro and con. I think one of the things I've learned about myself over time is I spent time in IC roles and manager roles, and I spent time, doing more leadership things and more kind of on the ground. I think what I found about myself is I give the analogy of I want to hand out soup at a soup kitchen. I don't want to like plan the development of new soup kitchens. And I feel like for me, talking to a developer about a technical problem they have, like that is the rewarding part of my job. I think for other people it can be different. They want to build castles. They want to like go out there and construct something you can see from space. But I actually just want to do something human one to one. And so I loved having the freedom. Like at Google, it was always think about scale. Like,
Yeah.
how do we scale this effort? We need to be able to scale support. We need to be able to scale community. And so it wasn't about doing it with your full attention and your full heart and your full mind. It was about coming up with programs and processes that allowed a small number of developer
Mm.
relations people compared to the audience to be able to do that function. Versus, I feel like this is more, it's like, um, a bespoke bread maker or something, right? You just got like you put your heart into each loaf each day, and only like 200 loaves go out the door. But man, those are like the best
Yeah.
you could produce. And so for me, it's been very rewarding, just like for my soul, to be able to kind of work that way.
I love that. I love that. I love all the analogies also that he uses. I think that that's really visual for folks and people can understand. So okay. So now it's more like yes, you're leading developer relation, but you're the only one. But it's kind of like it's a high C role because you're not managing, but at the same time you're leading. So what does that mean? Like I know Devrel doesn't have a day to day. I always smile a little bit when people ask me. So what are you doing day to day? I'm like
Right.
do you want the short and long answer? Because like I do a lot of things, and there is like rarely a day that looks like the other one. But like overall, the big picture, what does it look like to be? I sorry, I need to reread your title because I was going to say developer relation lead, but lead developer relation at Grammarly. What does it looks like right now? Like, what are you working on? What are you building? What are the discussion you're having with developer? Because also, from my understanding, you're also going in a new direction from new-ish direction from Grammarly.
Right.
So there's things to like set up
Yeah.
and foundation to create too.
Yeah. So Grammarly. I look when I found out we were getting acquired by Grammarly, my first question was, do they have a developer advocate team, or is there somewhere? Am I joining a team? Will they keep me on? And then I looked it up, and it turns out they had a developer advocate, but like they left a while ago because the history turns out that there was a time where Grammarly was considering making a developer offering, like a way you could
Mhm.
pay to have Grammarly's feature set embedded in your application. And like they tried it for a while, and then leadership changed and priorities changed. That whole kind of product line was cut, and then without a developer product to support, the developer relations person moved on. So today, I didn't come into Grammarly into like a need to support a whole library of developer plays. They kind of didn't have any. They have a couple APIs for admins at customers to be able to manage their account at scale, like reporting and provisioning and things like that. But there was no play where it's like, oh, the more of X
Mm.
developers we get, the better our company does. So that was kind of nice that I didn't have to kind of like go in and immediately like pick up all the pieces that were left behind. But yeah, so most of my effort right now is focused on the new thing that we're building, which is this ability to build agents on top of the Grammarly kind of platform. And so that's kind of fun because it's like real early days. I'm in there every day with the engineers, kind of like
Great.
testing the boundaries, like what's the maximum number of things I can put inside of this, and how long can this run for? And does it work if I do this or that? And so I like working with engineers. I love filing bugs. This is a weird thing about me, but I really get into filing bugs. Um, when I was a kid, I had dreams of being an archaeologist or a paleontologist, where it's all about discovery. Like something has been buried under the ground, and you might be the first person to set eyes on it. And for me, while that life has gone maybe off the chances for now, who knows? That could be my retirement. But for me, filing a bug is as close I get to that thrill of walking into an Egyptian tomb. It's like I am hacking away until I reveal the thing that was there, and then I get to kind of like show it in all its glory. And so
I
for
know the
me,
feeling.
yeah. So like this being an early, buggy, rough time in the product's life cycle is actually super exciting for me versus it being kind of like the polished, how do we 10x the thing, right? It has its own rewards and challenges, but I definitely get activated a lot by these early days.
I can totally understand. I relate to what you said. Again, great analogy. I mean, I'm gonna steal some stuff from you, but I'm part of the people who love also reporting bugs.
Mm,
A little bit about what you said, but also because I'm like I know it's not a great quality, but I'm a perfectionist and I want to ensure that like
Yeah.
developers have the best experience ever. And even if I find that weird bug that maybe only 10 people is going to have, for me, it's like at least we need to know that it exists. So it's not about annoying the engineering team. Actually, it's tried to help them being successful. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I just did it today with like a weird bug with our docs. And I was like, hey, like at specifically that size of the browser, there's that issue. It's probably not urgent. I just want you to know that it exists. And it just happened that because I often put my browser half my screen, this is the exact size where we have that issue. And again, not urgent, not the end of the world. Nobody died because that. Nobody reported that. I just want you to
Yeah.
know that it exists. But I find joy in that because for me, it's like it's one step closer to having an ever better product. This one may not be the best example because it was like really a
No, no.
small, weird bug, but I
I,
like to do
I
that.
Yeah, I totally feel that. I mean, part of developer relations is you're looking out for the experience of the people you never get to talk to, right? And who never maybe even take the time to, raise their hand when something goes wrong. And so, every time that you can shave off a rough edge or eliminate a dead end, like that could potentially have this huge multiplicative impact over, the unseen masses.
Exactly. When I talk to external developers, external engineers, I always ask them like, please give me the feedback. But like, obviously, the nice one because it's always nice to bring the nice feedback to the team and being
Yeah,
proud of like the work we've done. But tell me the ugly shit. Like, I want to know what you hate. I want to know what you don't like. It doesn't mean that we're going to fix it. Doesn't mean that we're going to modify it. We're a business. We need to prioritize stuff. We have a limited number of people that can work on those problems. But
yeah,
I need to say it and be honest with me, the little thing that you maybe think is not important that annoy you and you may think it's just about you, maybe there's a lot of more other people that have it, but like they don't, as you said, they don't take the time to report it because they have life, because they have other things to do. So knowing those kind of things, like it's interesting. So I always tell people, give me the real feedback, even if you
yeah,
think I won't like it. It's my job. I'm going to receive them. I'm going to like find a proper way to report that to the engineering team, and hopefully at the end everybody's going to be happy. That's part of
yeah.
the job. Like we're not just like that makes me think about the I don't know, when you started the role, it seems like it was still, your title was still around developer relation, but
Yeah.
when I started no, actually you started even before me, but like what was more popular than developer relation or developer advocates were technical evangelists, and people
Hmm.
change it because it sounds like we were just like from one way to the other. We were just like preaching to people, but like that job has always been a two-way street. It's always like, yes, I'm going to talk about my stuff. I'm going to talk about the things that I'm doing. I'm going to create content to help you being successful in my product. But
Yeah.
that's a two-way street. Like I need the feedback. I need to tell you what's happening. I need to tell you what's wrong and how can I help you.
Yeah, that's actually a part that's also was a change for me going from Google to Coda was that, Google, since it's so large, they have like different lanes within Devrel, technical writer, developer advocate. And then I spent all of my time as a developer relations engineer, which was more on kind of the back of house. If
Mhm.
you're a restaurant, it's more like making the sample code, the libraries, and the documentation, the testing of the APIs. And so if anything, my sales, whatever to whatever degree being in DevRel is about selling or building hype about something, that's like not the muscle I have the most strength in. I'm better at enabling people
Mhm.
than I am of like hyping them up about something. I do think that sometimes like really good enablement itself can help increase, the amount of people who come through. Like if
Yep.
you get good responses, if you come and land on something.
Oh, we just lost Eric, so don't know what happened. I thought I pushed like ending the stream or something, but we're still live. There's still people listening. So maybe internet connection. Eric told me that his kids may come in his office during the show, so maybe they like ripped a plug from the wall or something. So gotta wait for Eric to come back. I think he's just come back here. So welcome back.
Yeah, look, the Chrome browser will crash on you when you least want it to.
Oh, okay. I put the fault on your kids. Sorry about that. But I was telling people like he said maybe his kid's gonna come like in the office. Maybe they
That
don't
could still
know
happen.
how old they are, so maybe like they just like ripped the plug or something.
Yeah. Still a chance of that happening. No, this was a full-on Chrome browser crash, but yes. Um, but anyway, so yeah, I think being a good and technical enablement itself can be a way to increase adoption. But yes, I think the area I've had to work more on is being that kind of public out there
Mhm.
convincing face to get people hyped about something. And that's been my growth area since I transitioned.
And for some people it may be a little more natural. Like if you're like maybe, and I'm saying a lot of general statement, and it's not the only truth, but like for me that was a little more easier because I'm a super extrovert, social, and when I started to do that job I had like a huge ego, so being in front of people was just like feeling that ego. That was like so nice for me, so it was like, yes, I want more. I still feel like I have a huge ego if you see me at conferences, but now it's more personal than like who I'm really am. But with that said, I do not know at all where I was going with that. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's kind
Well,
of important of the job because it's part of like people need to know that you exist. People
right.
need to know that you're there. You're a contact at the company. I always like to describe myself as the like social, technical, approachable face of the company, and friendly. I usually put the word friendly. So
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm that person. You can talk to me, but my job is not to sell to you. Like if I do my job well, hopefully you're gonna pay us some money at some point. We're
Right.
all for profits company, but my job is not that. My job is to help you being successful, and hopefully you're gonna be successful in my product. But sometimes I'm gonna help you with stuff that are unrelated to my product because I'm building connection with people, because I'm working with people.
Yeah.
So it's important to kind of like build that personal brand. That's going to be something that's going to be super helpful. So I just started, and sorry, I stopped talking after that, but I just started a new job like about 3 months ago. I joined Tiny MCE, and I was like, so I want to make something clear. It won't be about my ego, but my face and name needs to be to many places because people need to know that I'm here now. People need to
Yeah.
know that I exist, so they know they have someone to talk to.
Right.
So, but yeah,
Yeah. I'm actually a deep introvert. Like I took the test. Me and my wife, when we were like getting married, we were like took a test to see where we were
oh, okay.
on the introvert extrovert spectrum. She's an introvert and I'm like a super introvert. So it's like she's the extrovert of the two of us. But people are surprised because there was one time we were at the Snowflake conference and we had a booth and I was doing booth duty. And like my manager knows that I don't really speak up in meetings sometimes. I kind of hold back. I'm reserved. I chime in only when I feel like I have something important to say. But on that floor, like I was like just going off, and she was like, "What? Who the hell are you?" And I think what I realized for me is like I'm uncomfortable representing me as a brand or as a
Mm,
thing, but when it's about technology, it's just very easy for me. And like once I know something, I am happy to just blab on or engage with people about that thing. It's just when the thing is me, like if I was doing a talent show and it was like, look at my talent, that's different than look at this cool thing
yeah,
that like our
yeah,
company has made. I just for some reason I have a bit of a disconnect when it comes to like um, what I'm speaking about. But yeah, once you get me on the right topic, then I'm good to go.
yeah. But it makes sense though. I mean, like, even when I started, I thought that like most of us were extrovert, but I think there is a lot more introvert doing developer relations than extrovert. At least, again, a generic statement. At least based on the discussion I have, and the thing I realized, or the thing that they made me realize, the introvert I talked to, is that they're like a little bit with what you said, but also everybody is able to do the job. It's just
Yeah,
the thing is that for me, at the end of the day, talking to all those people, I have more energy than when I started the day. That energized me. But for like my friends that are introverts, they're like, bring that. Let's go back to the hotel room, not talk to anybody. I just want to die in my room because like
that's me.
I don't have any energy anymore. So people are able to do the job. So it doesn't matter if you're extrovert or introvert. It may be, as you said, maybe a little bit easier if you're extrovert,
Yeah,
but the energy, it's mostly the energy, like where the energy goes. And actually I'm saying that, but I've been doing that for a couple of years now. I'm getting a little bit older. I'm not old, but I'm getting older. I'm not 20 anymore. And there is some times where I'm finished a day at an event and I'm like, can I go to my hotel room, not talk to anyone? I don't even go out for food. Like I order food
exactly.
to my hotel room because, and I hope the person's going to deliver the food don't want to chat about the weather and shit. I'm like, just get, like, it's a transaction. I pay you,
Yeah,
you gave me the food, get the fuck out. I'm done. I'm gonna watch Netflix and eat my food or just sleep and whatever. I don't want to talk to people. But when
totally.
I do it, I enjoy it. But now, after doing that for about 14 years now, and again, getting older, it like the weight is a little more. Uh,
Yeah,
the energy level is less there than it used to be.
yeah,
Eric, I feel like we could talk forever because developer relation, developer advocates. I have one last thing I just want to ask you
sure.
before we move to the demo. And you may not want to answer, but I'm just curious with the acquisition, especially because you're going to give a demo about Coda. Uh, Coda still have that place within Grammarly, like how I was working with the acquisition, because
Yeah, it's
sometimes acquisition is like, yeah, we acquired the product.
totally.
Sometimes it's more the people and the knowledge or the expertise. So, but it
Yeah.
feels like Coda is still there and it's not going away.
Yeah, it certainly helps that the CEO of Coda became a CEO of the whole thing. Like he's not going to let his old project die. But I think more importantly, the larger vision for the company beyond agents is to just create an AI native uh, workplace suite. So kind of competing maybe eventually with your Google and your Microsoft workplaces, but to have one that was kind of built in this era with AI at its
Mhm.
core instead of tacked on. And so I think Coda and its properties work well for that vision. And I think the other thing that they thought about is that, I think you're seeing this with other AI providers, is that often you want to collaborate with an AI on a surface. So all of the early UIs are chat based, right? And chat is
Yeah.
just like it says something and then the thing scrolls up and it's gone forever, slash, it just goes away. But I think you're seeing this now in like ChatGPT and Gemini, where sometimes when you ask for something, it'll pop open like a little editor on the side where then if you can work with it on that
Yeah.
content that it's creating. And we're seeing Coda as being kind of the surface that we can use for AI collaboration outside of chat.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So, what is Coda? You're going to talk to us about, I think, what is called PAX.
Yeah, so it's funny when I started this, when I filled out the form for this show a long time ago, different company, different focus, but I think also the world was at a slightly different point, and so I've kind of, yeah, I think the main thing I want to demo and kind of the main topic I wanted to bring today was low code interfaces.
Mhm.
And so it's something we do at Coda, but it's also something I did previously at Google. And so I kind of want to just talk a little bit about how that worked between the two different platforms I worked on, and then maybe like what's the future and value of low code kind of going forward is kind of like a topic area to discuss.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Let's do that.
All right. I'll start with some little demos I put together, but I think this is mostly just a jumping off point for um, kind of a larger discussion. So let's see.
Sounds good to me. And while you're starting the demo and sharing your screen, just want to let you know this time I have the proper information. So the next show is not going to be in 2 weeks; it's going to be in 1 month because I have an event in 2 weeks. Actually, I have an event for the rest of the week. I'm coming back home, and after that, I'm going away for two events during the full week. And as you know, like, or you may not know if you're not in Devrel, but like from me, my perspective on events is that we spend so much money for it to travel and expand. Sometimes the sponsorship, if we have a booth, swag, and all those stuff that work when I'm at an event. That wouldn't be too bad for me to take like an hour and a half to go back to my hotel room, do the show. But I don't think it's a proper way to do that because like we pay money for me to be there, so I'm going to maximize the return on investment there. So, not doing the show in 2 weeks. So this is going to be in a month. I'm going to be back on the end of October, so October 30. Uh, I'm gonna be back with another episode of the Devrel Show. So on that note, what are
Yeah.
my projects?
So for both of these demos, I wanted to show, kind of a main thing that both Coda and then Google App Script slash Google Sheets, which is what I worked on previously, would do, which is sync data from an app into those surfaces, right? People often need to mix and match data, or they want to just view it in a different way. And so there's all of these like syncing use cases where you bring data or records from one system into another. So this is the app to do it. It's a popular to-do
Oh
tracking app.
yeah,
I have some simple to-dos here that I created for a demo.
that's
And
one of the app outside of the browser and the email client. It's one of the app where I spend the most time
oh yeah,
for the best of worst.
I've
But
I've never been a power user of it, but it's my go-to demo app, so I use it all the time. But like, let's say you wanted to have your to-dos here in a sheet so that you could start, coming up with your own visualization for it or whatever. But it's really applicable to any kind of record type. So Google Apps Script is a scripting language built into spreadsheets that comes with this low-code kind of editor. So you're in a web-based editor and you're typing simple JavaScript using rich APIs in order to get stuff done. And so I've already kind of built it all out here. Not gonna watch me type live. That's boring. But I'm gonna just kind of talk through some of the stuff it can do. So the first thing here is that it can add UI elements. So it can add a menu item to your sheet. So now under here I have Todoist sync and a sync menu. So with very little code, I was able to alter the UI of the spreadsheet to kind of get some custom hooks. And then there's the actual sync logic itself. So in this one, I'm doing some work to get an OAuth token for the service. I'm then fetching down the list of tasks that I have in my account. I'm then kind of doing some formatting on the sheet to kind of add some like header rows and making them bold. And then lastly, I'm taking those tasks, turning them into like, a 2x2 grid of values and then saving that into the sheet. And then there's just some more auth code down here. And so what it looks like in the end is I can click on this Todoist sync. Now it asks me to authorize it. This Google pop-up. It then has me go through a Google flow. Unfortunately, Google has this very arcane verification system that means that even if you write the script, it doesn't trust it. So you have to be like, yes, it's fine. I wrote it. Enable all these scopes, hit continue. And so this just allows the script to run, period. Then after it runs, you hit sync again. Now it's like, well, I need to connect to your Todoist account and wah.
And the pleasure of live demo.
Live demo failure. I think I may not be able to recover from this, depending upon. Yeah. You know what? I think it saved some things in a place that when I cleared it out for this demo, no. What I can do, I can just change this number right here, actually. I think that should wipe out my old
You're
credentials.
probably just going to have to give the permission again.
Okay, here we go. So now it shows me another dialogue, and then this is where breaks again. Oh, darn you. Okay, well, this is
so close and so
how
far
live
away at
demos
the
go.
same time.
Oh, I see. I you know what? Another typo when I was changing this back. All right. The third time's the charm here on this one. But what is nice is that you can see I just type some code and I just hit save and immediately my code's deployed. So it's actually, that's part of a low code environment, is like this super quick iteration cycle. All right, finally I agree to my Todoist data having access. Close that tab, close this one last time, hit sync, and boom, there you go. So so people build a lot of things like this with AppScript, and this was like a very common use case, was like syncing data in, pushing data back out again. People wanted in tables for various reasons, and it's a popular use case. And what I think I really liked about this platform was, being able to code write your browser, no setup required. I mean, so much of the pain I always used to feel at hackathons was step one, like download this version of TypeScript and this version of Node and this version of that, and like this. Like if you were not already deep in that particular ecosystem, that setup step alone could eat like half your hackathon time, right? Like it was so painful. Nowadays you have cloud environments that make this a lot easier, and containers, like there's better solutions, but in general, just being able to like open an IDE and type stuff is very productive, and one of the things I liked about it.
I was going to say that it's nice now with like containers and stuff like that, because in the past when I was mentoring at Hackathon, I was spending most of the time trying to just like help people set up correctly to build whatever the things they wanted to build, and help them with like the specific SDK to build the stuff or specific API. So thank God for like the new technology. From my point of view, had a lot of like different technology, had a lot of complexity that we didn't have in the past, but also make it a lot of things easier. So
well, and so I really like this pattern. I think some of the things that will become struggles is that all of the logic that syncs a set of objects into a 2D grid is all you have to write yourself. And so if I go back to the spreadsheet, if I were to like, shift these columns around, or if I were to delete a row, all of those edge cases you'd have to handle in your code if you wanted to have a really robust sync. So Coda as a tool is kind of a Notion-like tool. It has plain text, but it also has tables, and those tables are kind of like Airtable type tables. They can have types on the columns. You can make something a number, etc. So it's a little bit more of a database type tool mixed in with just kind of free text writing. But the integration platform we built to kind of enable those same kind of things we had in AppScript is called Packs. And so a pack also has a built-in web editor where you just type code directly and you don't need to download anything. The patterns are a little different. you actually like structure your data ahead of time. So rather than just writing 2D grids, you actually describe a schema saying these objects have certain properties and here are their types. And then you write this thing called a sync table, which is a special kind of table that's just meant for syncing outside data, where you just fetch the records and then return them. And as long as they match the schema, your work is done. There's no figuring out rows and columns. There's no kind of mapping it to grids. The platform handles all of that. And then even the auth code is a lot simpler. It's a declarative auth in our platform. So you just say the type of auth and then some properties, and the platform goes and fetches your tokens and stores them. In the AppScript case, we were using a library that I wrote the initial version of actually that does some of that for you, but you still have to kind of like juggle little bits and pieces and store them, figure out how to store the keys. In the PAX world, it's auth is hands off. As a developer, you can actually never touch a user's token. You can't log it, you can't look at it, and so all the credentials for the users are kind of like hidden away, which has its pluses. And then the other nice thing is that it's very reusable. So when I built this pack, I can just type slash and it'll show up in this like slash list. And there's what to do with sync pack I built today. And like it's kind of like has a nice little like UI and UX for an install flow. And then if I want to sync in my tasks, I drag in the table, I connect an account, and this is where the platform is taking over doing all of this auth work for me. I didn't have to like write any code or any UX for it. And then once I'm done, I now have this special kind of table called a sync table that has all this nice UX around. I can hit a refresh button. I can schedule it to run automatically at a certain cadence. And I can do anything I want with these columns because it's all mapped at the object level instead of the row column level. It's a lot more flexible. So that's kind of like an overview of kind of like what I worked on and what I'm working on more recently. But I think looking back, one of the things I'm starting to think about is I've been a huge advocate for these low code interfaces since my time at Google and at Coda as well, just because it brought so many more people into being able to develop than would be if it required a CLI and getting Node installed and the rest of it. But I'm finding that paradigm is kind of flipping now with AI coding tools, right? Where if anything, like Claude Code needs you to run like on your desktop. It requires you to have a kind of a high code experience. It can't write code into this editor. It can only write code into files on your desktop, right? So yeah, I'm almost at a point of like questioning, like, what is the future of low code? Is there still a place for kind of these simple ways to create things, or should we just say everything's a CLI and the LLM will do all of the difficulty for you?
Yeah, I didn't thought about that. I thought about the no coding part, not the low coding part. Like from my point of view, I think there's still benefit to the no coding because even if you use like a LLM to create code, you still need to understand the code, or at least maybe not at the beginning, but like at some point you're gonna have issues, you're gonna have bugs, some things is gonna work like you wanted. The tool like ChatGPT Claude will generate something that like it's not exactly what I asked, where it's like it doesn't do everything that I want. So at some point, you need to have. I think that's a problem right now. There's a lot of people that don't have the skills to understand or the knowledge to understand what is generated. So you got a lot of like, yeah, it's working, but like, is it
Yeah,
really working, or is it really secure, or is it like, is it future proof, or does it do exactly what you want? So you don't have the knowledge to make it happen. So I think no code as that benefit. That's one example. I love to use like things like if this then that or Zapier, and I'm a developer. I can code all those things. I don't want to code all those things. I don't want to learn the API of all those things. So even if I would be able and I have the knowledge to do that, I don't want to do that. So it's also beneficial for people that are not developers that don't have the technical skills. So I think there's still a place for no code. But you're right, low code. I like. I would need to think a little more about that. I
yeah,
think there's still a place to it, but I
yeah. So
don't know.
I think some of the things that I think are useful aspects of low code that could still make sense in a AI kind of first world is kind of low ops, which is to say like a lot
Mm,
of these platforms, like for AppScript, I hit the save button, it's deployed immediately, and I never have to like, worry about rollouts or, uptime or things like that. It's kind of like the platform handles all the like hard parts of keeping an application up and running, which is like, you know,
uh,
monitoring deployments, health checks, etc. Because I think even if an LLM is really good at writing code, I don't think today, at least, they're good at like doing DevOps for your app, right? They're not going to sit around and like keep it running. They're just going to write it and then say do with what you will with it, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's one aspect I like. I think the other aspect is thick libraries, which is to say like in AppScript and in Coda, you're not doing like I'm not writing React code to render this thing.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
just saying like add a menu item, or I'm saying add a table that has these columns, and it just so all of the best practices around accessibility and multilingual support, whatever those things are, the hard parts that you're probably not going to think about on day 1 or day 10, they can be kind of handled by the platform, and you write less code. And writing less code for me, that's always like a benefit. It's so much easier to support less code, to understand
Yep.
less code. And so I think like, yeah, maybe while coding in a web interface might not be the future, it seems like some of those things about how do you make it so you have less code, less complex code, less monitoring of code, less effort to keep code up and running. Those parts of a low code platform, I think for me, still feel like they could have a future.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is why I have guests that are more intelligent than me, so they can like provide better opinions about those kind of things. So now I appreciate the.
Not more intelligent. I just had more time to think about it because I knew I knew my topic before coming up.
Wonderful. It sounds to me like it's the end of the demo. Or did you have anything else you wanted
That's
to
it.
show?
No, that's all I want to show today.
I think that's good. So on that note, anything else you want to share about any advice for people? You've been doing developer relation for a long time. Anything you want to share with folks, or just nothing?
Yeah, no, I mean, I get asked. I have the privilege of being able to talk to new grads. My college has a program where they connect, people who are about to graduate with people who are in the industry, and so people often ask, like, "Oh, like, oh, I've got a job at Google. Like, how did you do that? Like, it seems unattainable." There are Type A people, and I'm not one of them. I'm not like someone who crafted the perfect master plan for how I was going to navigate my career. Um, my plan has been just to always like do the best work I can and to care about it. And so far that's worked out. Results may vary. I can't guarantee that's going to be a path that works for everyone, but it certainly has gotten me pretty far. So as a data point of one, like I think, I've seen people who they're like, I want to take the job. I want to work on the work that's going to get me the most noticed so that I can advance to this way. So I could, move my chess piece
Mhm.
down the, board. I've just been thinking about like, what can I do today that, has the most impact on developers and like does the best for them. And I think at least having that, it helps also then to have managers and people around you who can
Yeah.
channel and promote the work you're doing. Like I think it can be a challenge if that is all done in darkness, but I think at the core you need to be doing that important work, and then there needs to be a smaller amount of effort, hopefully by your manager, who's packaging it up in a way that can be kind of like sold and promoted. Because I think if you're all show, that's it probably doesn't. It's going to be at least a harder road.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I smile a little when you share about like, hey, how can I work at Google? Because I work at Microsoft, and I often get that question, and my answer is sad because I don't like. I'm saying a little bit what you're saying. I'm also um, trying to say also maybe do a little bit the job that require for that role, so you have something to show, like, yeah,
Yeah,
I've never been paid professionally to do the job, but I can do it. Like, you have way to show that you can do it. But like when I arrived at Microsoft, they basically approached me, and it's not because I was good, because like I never had, like, I was a developer, I was not a developer advocate, but they were looking for someone bilingual. I was starting to speak at conference, I was writing blog posts, I was running meetups, I was kind of like doing their job already.
yes,
And I don't think they had that many choice, and they're just like, oh yeah, Fred is there. It's one of the people we can hire, because they were. It was a special thing, so it was kind of like, yeah, I was like you. I didn't really like engineer that to like, oh yeah, this is my dream job. So I'm really privileged in that way. But it also means that I don't have a lot of like advices about like how I
yeah,
crafted everything to be sure I'm going to work in that Fortune 500 company.
yeah. That's how I feel the same way. My prior experience to Devrel was in tech consulting, which I do think if maybe you're having trouble getting to Devrel, that can be a decent launch point because it's all about working one-on-one with customers, working through technical issues, but balancing it with business concerns. And it's kind of, I felt like I was doing Devrel with a clock over your head and in a suit, but it was kind of some of the same skills when it comes to like um, getting technical with other people. And at the core of it, that was like what I needed that muscle to do good at Devrel as well.
Sounds good. So thanks for everything. Thanks for being I guess on the show. Thanks for the demo. Really nice. I love having guests in the show. Usually, I do not go see the company you're working for. I try not to learn about the demo. I want to be like any newcomers to like the demo and learn about stuff. So that was great because I did not know Coda. So those are a great way for me to learn about this. So
Excellent.
on that note, thanks again. Thanks for the people that was watching live. Thanks also for the people who will watch the recording. I hope you're going to have a good rest of the day and see you in about a month for the next episode of the Devrel Show. Bye, everyone.